One of the many talking points during Euro 2024 has been Italy's youngest player in their squad in Riccardo Calafiori. And on top of having some elite performances for Italy, being one of, if not their best player through an extremely disappointing tournament for Italy, being knocked out at the round of 16 stage to a very good Switzerland team. He also has been memed a lot to be looking like the previous Italian great defenders. But in a recent report by Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein has got in. Essentially every high major transfer reporter has reported this, that Chelsea and Arsenal are heavily interested in the Bologna man. And after Juventus agreed personal terms with Calafiori back in February, but Bologna now apparently prefer to sell him to a club outside of Italy, especially after Juventus essentially stole Bologna's manager in Thiago Motta. But again, according to those reports, according to Fabrizio, according to David Ornstein, Arsenal are very close to getting Riccardo Calafiori for around £42 million, which is around 50 million euros. It's almost looking very certain that Arsenal would probably get Calafiori if no major transfer stealings happen. I thought to myself, do Arsenal actually need Calafiori? And if so, what position and what role would he be playing for Arsenal under Arteta's system? Well, that's what we'll be talking about today. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Gunner Central here. I hope you're all doing well. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Now, believe it or not, I'm actually pretty familiar with Calafiori's game, even before the Euros actually kicked off. Over on my football channel, when I was talking about Bologna, I mentioned how good Calafiori had been for them. After struggling to make a noticeable impact at Roma and Genoa, at Basel, Calafiori got an important role, and he was arguably one of Basel's best players and was eventually sold to Bologna last summer for just £3.3 million. And this past season, Calafiori was easily one of Bologna's best players under Thiago Motta. Now, Calafiori was always a left back or even a left wing back at his previous clubs, but this past season at Bologna, he played as a left centre back in Motta's system. But Calafiori isn't just a normal centre back in Motta's system. It sometimes sees him, when they're on the ball, move into defensive midfield from the centre back position when the team are on the ball. This Bologna team under Thiago Motta finished 5th in the Serie A and qualified for the Europa League ahead of a team like Napoli. Calafiori played 37 games for Bologna last season in all competitions, getting 2 goals and getting 5 assists from 29 games at centre back and a further 6 at left back. And I think if you watch Bologna at all during the season or watch Italy at all, you would have seen Calafiori be a consistent standout, putting in some elite performances, being very consistent. Calafiori to me was Italy's second best player during the Euros, only behind the captain Gianluigi Donnarumma. He made some elite saves, so it's quite hard for me to put Calafiori ahead of him. And at the age of 22, you can clearly see just how high of a ceiling Calafiori has. And I can completely understand the excitement that Arsenal fans, including me, have when they hear about the possibility of signing Calafiori. He is a very, very high level player, extremely good football IQ. He's fairly versatile, very high technical ability. He's left-footed, which is very good to have as a defender. And he has performed on the biggest stages for Italy when, let's be honest, him and Donnarumma carried a lackluster Italian team all the way to the round of 16 out of the group of death. He's 22 years old, and even when he scored an own goal against Spain, he still put in a really good overall performance. So what is there not to like about the Calafiori and the possibility of Arsenal signing him? Well, as I always tend to do, there are some holes, or there are some things we need to address when we speak about Calafiori joining Arsenal. Now, his game itself is absolutely awesome. He could most definitely play as an inverted left back, and he could be a very good backup behind Gabriel for Arsenal. And he's still very young, so I wouldn't mind keeping him as a backup for now. Playing him maybe once every 2 weeks, or playing him off the bench, I think would be a really good option for Arteta and Arsenal to have on the bench. But do we actually need him in this team? That's the issue. Look, to get Calafiori for what we'd have to pay around 50 million euros, which is being rumored, lots of other clubs like Leverkusen, Juventus and Chelsea are still very interested and still could make a last-ditch attempt to get Calafiori, putting in a bigger offer than 50 million euros. Calafiori's stock is at an all-time high. He's only 22 years old. He perfectly fits the mold of a modern-day defender, and the biggest issue for me is Basel will receive 50% of the transfer fee that Bologna agreed to sell him for, meaning that Bologna may ask for more than 50 million euros, even though it's reported that both clubs have kind of agreed on that deal. Again, if Leverkusen or Chelsea or Juventus come in with a heavier offer, we may have to be forced to pay more. And with Arsenal right now, I would say having enough cover at left back and even at the left side of centre back with players like Timber, Tomiyasu, Kiwior, all being able to play left back and left centre back. And I mean, we still have the likes of Kieran Tierney and Zinchenko on our books. Where does Calafiori actually fit in this Arsenal team? Well, to me, that's the only issue I have right now with this transfer. I don't think he really fits in this team. To me, in a fully fit Arsenal team, with the players that we have now, the system that we play now, I don't see Calafiori being a starting left back ahead of Jurrien Timber, although that's probably 1A and 1B. Maybe Timber becomes the backup left back. Maybe Calafiori becomes a backup left back. But I don't see Calafiori being a game in, game out starter at left back. And I don't see Calafiori starting ahead of Gabriel on the left side of centre backs. Because let's be honest, Gabriel is arguably one of the best centre backs right now in the world, especially left-sided centre backs. So unless Arsenal and Arteta move to a back three, which I highly doubt will happen, I don't see how or where Calafiori becomes an instant starter for this Arsenal team. Unless it's ahead of Timber at left back. And listen, as good as Calafiori is, I don't think he can play any other positions outside of a left back or a left centre back. Maybe he could do a job at defensive midfield if absolutely needed. Again, under Thiago Motta, he moved into defensive midfield when they were on the ball, but I can't see a need for him right now unless we plan to sell Kiwior as well as maybe Tierney and Zinchenko. Then yes, we will be light on the left hand side and we would need someone like Calafiori, and I think it would be a perfect fit in my eyes for Arsenal and Arteta's system. And how much should we look to pay for Calafiori? Well, honestly, I can't justify paying anything more than 50 million euros. In my opinion, if another club comes and outbids us, I think we leave it. Apparently, that's already been agreed. There's been 50 million euros, so I think that's a perfect price. And if we could sell Tierney and Zinchenko, we could probably make up half of the fee. So adding Calafiori to a team for 50 million euros, if we sell Tierney and Zinchenko, I think would be really good work for Arsenal. The issue is, if we don't manage to sell both Tierney, Zinchenko, and or Kiwior, then I really think we're a bit too heavy in the defensive department. And I know it's very important to have a big squad, have a lot of players that can play lots of different positions, but I think you have to still have a fair balance to allow players minutes so that no one gets upset and the team morale stays quite high. Again, if we sell at least 2 defenders and then bring in Riccardo Calafiori, I think it would be an awesome piece of business for Arsenal, because on the field, in a tactical sense, Calafiori, in my opinion, would be a perfect fit in this Arsenal team. Being able to play as an inverted left back, being able to play as a normal left back, being able to play on the left side of a back three, being able to play as an out-and-out left-sided centre back, being young, being quick, fairly strong, very technically sound. I would love this signing, as I'm sure many other Arsenal fans would as well. And as a player, there isn't much of a downside on Calafiori's game. It's just, as of right now, I don't see the need or fit to get Calafiori unless some sales are eventually made, which I'm assuming will happen because it's looking likely that Calafiori joins Arsenal. Again, I know depth is important, but we also don't want too much depth to where players don't get minutes and start getting unhappy. If we do sign Calafiori, I almost guarantee that at least 2 defenders will be getting sold, which I wouldn't really mind either. And signing a younger, versatile defender with an amazing upside in Calafiori would be awesome work for Arsenal.